Diversity. Why do we need to talk about diversity? First, hundreds of studies show that companies with greater diversity can better understand the perspectives of their customers and business partners. This, as you might think, is a critical issue to build and maintain sustainable relationships and not merely transactional ones with all stakeholders. This idea is even more important if we are talking about products and services to customers, people like us, that we need to identify with in order to better understand their needs and wishes. Second, companies with greater diversity tend to be more creative and innovative in their products and services. It's a logical matter proved by science. If we have a group of people with more intellectual diversity, they will have more knowledge and different perspectives, and that will increase their ability to adapt to change, which will generate a far greater collective intelligence. Third, more diverse companies manage to attract, retain, and develop 100% of their talents at all levels of organization. When there is inclusion for real, employees realize they work in a fair organization without discrimination, and then they become more and more engaged, seeking to reach their full potential. Take a look at this video. This metaphor shows that diversity of perspectives and approaches leads to better understanding of our environment. The company does not exist in a vacuum. It's part of a net of interdependencies, a system, and it needs to be in tune with the expectations from all its stakeholders. But why companies do not have diversity, particularly in senior positions? We often hear, "My organization treats everyone equally." Giving the same treatment to unequal people does not lead to inclusion. On the contrary, look at these images. We also often hear the phrase, "My company is meritocratic, so we don't need any diversity or inclusion practices." Sometimes it's not like that. Let's use a real example to explain how this can happen: the orchestras. Until the mid-70s, there were very few women in professional orchestras. When the conductors and artistic directors were questioned, they used to say, "Well, maybe there are no women in orchestras because they don't want to devote themselves to the very high number of hours needed to be in an orchestra. Or they don't have enough talent or sensitivity for music, or they would rather stay at home, or they wouldn't be able to hold the instruments continuously for so many hours." Then some people suggested an experiment in the orchestra selection process. They began to put a curtain between the candidates and the members of the selection committees. Thus, only the quality of the music, which is the most important for an orchestra, could be noted. The result was impressive. As if by magic, women began to be approved to the next phase of the selection process, showing that the justifications given by the conductors had no basis at all. Orchestras around the world began to follow suit, and within a few years, the proportion of women in orchestras jumped from 5% to 25%, and currently the average is around 35%. Now I ask, did the conductors or artistic directors do it on purpose? Didn't they want the best professionals to be part of their orchestras? Of course they wanted the best musicians. And indeed, they thought they were selecting the best, until the curtain showed them otherwise. And now, back to the leaders of our organizations. Don't they want the best people, the most qualified ones, for managerial and leadership positions? Certainly they do. And we can help your organization to be increasingly diverse and inclusive, unleashing the full potential of your employees. We believe and spread that diversity and inclusion are good corporate governance practices for any organization. By applying a unique and effective methodology for your business to reap all the benefits diversity and inclusion can bring. Besides being the right thing to do from the ethical perspective, taking diversity and inclusion seriously has increasingly become a source of competitive advantage for companies due to its economic, social, and environmental benefits.